So, I'm sitting here in traffic, and haven't went live in a while. But if I look a little distracted because I'm focusing, but there's something heavy on my heart, and I'm going to try to be careful how I word myself, because it could be offensive to a lot of people. But I grew up in church, and I've seen a lot of stuff in different churches. A huge issue that I've seen, and a lot of people might be like, oh, you're just you, being you again, going on a rant, going on a tangent like you usually do on Facebook. But something that's extremely bothersome this time and age, and I will say it's not at my church. All churches have their issues, and all churches have things, because there is no perfect church. If there was a perfect church, then we wouldn't, if it was a perfect church, that means there'd be perfect people in the world. Then if there's perfect people, we wouldn't, in theory, think we need God, because we're perfect. So we're not perfect. So I'm not trying to say there's a perfect church out there. But something I see a lot of is a lot of churches I've noticed, and I don't want to offend nobody, and that's not my goal here. It's just heavy on my heart. I feel like a lot of places, and I've been to a lot of places, so it's not one particular place I've been to, it's just different ones. A lot of churches have their own agendas, and I feel like they take God out of that agenda, and they don't have no place for him, because they have such a set pattern, ritual of how they do things. So there's no room for God in their church, because if there was, they would allow for the Spirit to move freely. And this time and age, when there's such turmoil in the world, there's such a need for salvation. And when you have a large body of people to minister to, there's certain subject matters that should always be hit and touched on, because that's your chance to reach a soul. And that should be the point and goal in a church, not a structure, not corporate management, because the church shouldn't be corporate style, and that's in most churches that I see. The key factor goal is pointing the lost souls to Christ, not a feel-good sermon. As they say that iron sharpens iron. In the Bible, there's tests that people come across. Job was tested greatly, lost everything, and there's challenges. He had great challenges. And if we're not challenged in life, you're not challenged to be a better person. And typically challenges and tests ends up making you a better person, and you find yourself. And in church, you should be challenged on your walk with Christ, as in, are you walking right? Are you doing everything in your power to sorry, that's why I don't do this, because I always get emotional. And it's hard for me. As a pastor, are you doing everything in your power to lead your flock the right way to God? Not another sermon about money, because money ain't going to get your flock into heaven. You're just talking to your flock about money, saying how great it is to have 10% of your money. Yeah, I get it. I grew up in church. I've heard the tithing sermon 100 million times to where it's owed in my face. And everyone that knows me, I'm a huge giver. Sacrifice is not just money, it's your time, your quality time with God, and serving in the church as well. Because to function, you gotta have servants. And not just up on the pulpit. Scrubbing the toilet. I just feel like a lot of churches loses the focus of what the main goal is. And when you have people you're preaching to and speaking to, there's a difference between speaking and preaching. Anyone can be a good speaker. They got school for that. Teach you how to speak in front of people. But the real meat and potatoes is getting to the people and speaking to people about the truth. No one wants to hear the truth. Honestly, everyone wants a feel-good message. They want to feel good. They don't want to be challenged, because that hurts, that cuts. And when you're on the pulpit, that is your real chance to, you have a open group of people listening. They're there wanting something. They're looking for something. That is your chance to point them to the right thing. Not just a feel-good message. And I'm not saying going in hellfire brimstone. I mean, I grew up on that and I came out just fine, I think. Some might bid the differ. Letting the Holy Spirit guide you. And your pastor gets up there blank because he has no clue what's about to come out of his mouth. Because he's been searching for a message all week long and he can't get it. And then the God speaks to him, gives him a couple scriptures before going up there. Or the worship leader not having a clue what she's going to sing because she can't get it together. Because she's trying to find it on her own sometimes, maybe. Or she has, it's her go, it's her duty to be the worship leader, so she's trying to put the right songs together. And then God just drops it in her spirit just like that as she walks up there. That's letting the Spirit of God flow. And so many churches are afraid of letting the Spirit flow of God. But when you do, miracles happen, bondage falls, things shift in the Spirit, and revival just might take place in the church at that moment. Heaven forbid that might happen. But we're too scared to get out of our comfort zone in the church as a leader. And that's sad. Now, I will say where we go on Sundays, it's not the perfect church. And I don't post about my church for personal reasons because I try to be incognito of places that I go for certain reasons. And if you know me personally, you know why. But where we go, if you're interested, It's not the perfect church. They don't have the largest youth group. And it can be a struggle at times having kids in school, homeschool, and you're trying to give them the best. But what we do have, the pastor listens to the Spirit. There's times he gets up there and he doesn't have a clue what he's going to preach. And I know this because my husband's the sound man, and he'll give Chris the messages or the scriptures and completely changes it. Or he'll go to Chris and say, man, I don't know what I'm going to speak on. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do. I'm waiting for God to tell me. And that's kind of inspiring because he's humbled enough to say, I don't know. And to be able to have to get up there and speak to people and not know what you're going to present, and you're trusting literally solely on God, it's pretty real. That's real. And sometimes those can be the best services. And because he literally lets it just flow. He's not perfect because he's human. The worship is not 100% because they're human, and they do their best with what they work with. They do their best, but the Spirit does flow, and things happen. But the thing is, you can't be scared of letting the Spirit flow, because you gotta leave room for God to move. And if most churches would grasp that, you would see more changes in the world. Because, well, I mean, you're letting God do his job and letting him work. And our pastor doesn't sugarcoat things, and he points you to Christ. There ain't no once saved, always saved deal either. That might bust a lot of bubbles out there. And there ain't no few chosen either. That might bust a lot of bubbles. I just gotta hit it all. Because so many people are preaching the wrong messages. No, I'm not here judging. But the Bible does talk about judging righteously. And if I'm out here judging the way he looks up there, the way he sounds, oh, that person's wrong. He's in the emergency lane driving. Then yeah, I'd be judging wrongfully. But judging righteously, spiritually, I'm not perfect, and I know that. My husband and I are pretty hard. We're hardcore. I know this. There's not many like us. And because of that, you can feel alone. We don't live perfectly. But we do try to hold as close as possible the right way. And I've seen a lot of crap. I've had a lot of people fail me in church. And people, spiritual leaders that I've looked up to. And it could be why I'm so, I guess, a little tough. Don't feel so tough when you're crying. I always do this. But I guess because of what I've seen and what I have been through, it opened your eyes up a little bit differently. And when you see churches not directing their flock the right way, it saddens me for those people, because you got lost souls out there and they're not even being guided the right way. They're just getting a feel-good message. And that's not what you go to church for. You go to church for guidance, challenging your faith of, are you making the right decisions? Are you being, iron sharpens iron? You're going to use a dull knife, are you, in the kitchen to cut bread? You want a sharp knife. And in this world, spiritually, your spirit needs to be sharp. There's a lot of challenges out there that we're going to hit, if you haven't noticed in the past 2 years. So, if you've had church hurt, don't look at the man on the pulpit, but look to God, because even He can fail you. Your mother can fail you. Trust me, I can testify there. Your uncle can fail you. Testify there. Sometimes your husband can. Luckily for me, I've got a pretty good man on my side, and he ain't perfect. He struggles in his own areas of life, but like I said, he wouldn't be human if he was perfect. Because there ain't no man perfect except for Christ, God. So I doubt many people will watch the replay of this or even see this, because it's just me being me as usual. I figure it's why I don't I quit speaking a long time ago, because nobody wants to hear the truth. I got tired of wasting my breath. But if you don't get nothing out of this, know that Christ is the answer. And you need to point your people to Christ and salvation. And on a daily walk with Him, you need to strive to be more like Jesus, as in getting your life together, repenting. Nobody likes the R word, because we all want to think we're perfect. You're not sinless. You're probably sinful. Because nobody likes to change. So I don't know if I have much more to say on that, unless I just keep repeating myself. And I am 14 minutes still from our destination on 65 going northbound. So much for starting my day early. But I guess that's all I got to say, and enjoy the rest of your day. And watch out for that snow that we might get.